All right, shalom family. My name is Austin. You are watching the 144 Kids Recap on the Kids Action Bible Show. Now, if you're new to this channel, please check out the 144kids.com. It has everything you need to know about our ministry, including ways that you can donate and give and serve and pour into this ministry. Anything you want to know about it, it's at 144kids.org. Other than that, let's get to the recap. Roll it. All right, so today we're talking all about the spring feast. Yes, it is Moedim time. It is feast time. It is spring feast time. Oh, I'm so excited. So we have Passover, unleavened bread, first fruits, Purim, and we have Shabbat. These are all of the Moedim that we are going to go over in the next couple of weeks. Today, we are doing a deeper dive into Passover by itself. So I'm so excited. Let's get into it. All right, so let's break down this term Moedim. If you're new to this, we'll probably try to do it every episode, but if you're new to this, this is what Moedim means. The term Moedim, it's a Hebrew word that means appointed times or appointed festivals. It refers to sacred festivals and appointed times that Yah designated for the people of Israel to observe, to remember important events and worship Yah. So these are important sacred festivals that were put in place by the Father himself. These are times where he appointed for his people to come together and commune with him, to worship him, to celebrate with him, and to remember amazing historical events that have happened throughout the course of Israel's lifetime. Check this out. This is Leviticus chapter 23, verse 1. It says, "And Yah said to Moshe, speak to the Israelites and say to them, these are my appointed festivals," not Jewish festivals, not these weird people's traditions. The Father says, these are my traditions. These aren't traditions that man made up. These are traditions that he himself made up. He says, speak to the Israelites and say to them, these are my appointed festivals, my Moedim, the appointed festivals of Yah, which you are to proclaim as sacred assemblies. You're supposed to shout it. You're supposed to let it be known. This is a set apart gathering. This is something that the Father himself put into place. All right, you know what time it is?
For the Debar of the day.
So the Debar of the day, which Debar is it's the Hebrew word for the word. Let's say that 5 times fast. The Debar of the day is Aviv, or you can also spell it Aviv. Either way, we're trying to find a way to pronounce it. We're trying to find a way to pronounce it, the Hebrew actual word. And so Aviv is the first month in the Hebrew calendar. It's the first month in the Hebrew calendar. And so when spring happens, when Israel is given the clue to, hey, you know what? Let's calculate it. You know what? This is the beginning month of the year. After this year is also so important because after you figure out what the month of Aviv is, then the rest of the year starts. Now, let's just be clear. Regular New Year's in today's time always starts in January 1st. But that's because that's a calendar that was created by man. In ancient times, in agricultural times, right? Farmers and people in the ancient world, the new year didn't start till the end of the season, not in the middle of the season. You wouldn't start the new year in the middle of winter. You would start your new year after the snow is melted and then the flowers are blooming. There's new growth. That new growth is the world saying, hey, we have accomplished, we've walked into a new year. And so that month, when that officially takes place, the Bible calls it Aviv. This is the first month in the Hebrew calendar. And that's my creepy cousin, Carl. He says, write that down. You better write that down. So like I just said, the biblical New Year starts in the spring. The biblical New Year starts in the spring. People might say Happy New Year. That's them and what they celebrate. If you hold to the scriptures, the biblical New Year, if you want to be as close to the scriptures as possible, it starts in the spring. Check this out. Here's an example of Passover and that new year in the scripture together. Let's read it together. Deuteronomy chapter 16, verse 1. It says, observe the month of Aviv and keep the Passover unto Yah your Elohim. For in the month of Aviv, Yah your Elohim brought thee forth out of Egypt by night. So he says, keep Passover in the month of Aviv. Remember, this is the month that Israel exited Egypt. They exited Mitzrayim. That he came and he rescued them. And so he tells Israel, this is the time of year you're supposed to keep this feast. That's cool to know. So let's remember Passover. Let's talk about Passover a little bit more. So another word for Passover is Pesach. Some people say Pesach, some people say Passover. But either way, we're talking about the same spring feast. We're talking about the same appointed time that Yah gave Israel. So let's take a look at Deuteronomy chapter 16, a couple verses, and then we'll go backwards to Exodus and learn a little bit more and see what scripture has to say about this festival, about this appointed time. So let's take a look. Hey, Shabbat Shalom. I have an exciting announcement for you. You see this shirt right here? Well, this is our first prototype, but we officially have shirts up for you to get. Yes, as long as you don't purchase them on Shabbat, if you want a 144 Kids t-shirt, all you got to do is go to yahusmanna.com and click that 144 Kids tab, and it's all yours. We're accepting pre-orders, and after we get enough pre-orders, we'll go ahead and make them and send them out. So anyway, look forward to seeing you at the next Shabbat. Let's get back to the show. Deuteronomy chapter 16, verse 1 through 5 says, observe the month of Abib and keep the Passover to Yah your Elohim. For in the month of Abib, right, Yah your Elohim brought you out of Egypt by night. Therefore, you shall sacrifice the Passover to Yah your Elohim from the flock and from the herd, in the place where Yah chooses to put his name. It's a very important place. You shall eat no leavened bread with it. We'll talk about unleavened bread in a second. 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread with it. That is the bread of affliction, for you came out of the land of Egypt in haste. You may remember the day in which you came out of the land of Egypt, all the days of your life. No leaven shall be seen among you in all your territory for 7 days, nor shall any of the meat which you sacrifice the first day at twilight remain overnight until morning. So he's giving them clear instructions. We'll see a little bit more what other instructions at. But so far, what we see in the scripture, he's saying, hey, this month, when you celebrate Passover, you're gonna grab a lamb or a goat from the flock. We're gonna sacrifice it. And you're gonna make sure you also eat no leavened bread with it. And he talks about the importance of unleavened bread, and we'll talk about that in the next episode. And he says, hey, because we're doing this so you can remember what it was like for me to bring you out of Egypt, so that we never end back up in that situation again. It's a constant reminder for us, something to look forward to and help us focus as we move along on this walk. All right, verse 5 through 8, let's keep reading. And you may not sacrifice the Passover within any of your gates, which Yah your Elohim gives you, but at the place where Yah chooses to make his name abide. There you shall sacrifice the Passover at twilight, at the going down of the sun. So twilight is around that sunset time. At the time you came out of Egypt, and you shall roast and eat it in the place which Yah your Elohim chooses. And in the morning you shall turn and go to your tents. 6 days you shall eat unleavened bread, and on the 7th day there shall be a sacred assembly to Yah your Elohim, and you shall do no work on it. That's awesome. So Yah wanted Israel to remember how he brought them out of Egypt. That's one major piece we take away from Pesach, from Passover. If you're trying to figure out why do you even celebrate it, what's the point? He says this is important. Remembering this, all of my children forever. He makes this covenant forever. This feast is supposed to last forever. He says, I don't ever want you to forget. This is how I brought you out of Egypt. And so this is one important piece that we're supposed to take away and remember when we are participating in the feast of Passover, the feast of Pesach. All right, that was Deuteronomy, but let's take a step back. Let's go one chapter back. Let's go into Exodus. So this is Exodus chapter 12, verse 1 through 6. It says, now Yah spoke to Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, this month shall be your beginning of months. So obviously in Deuteronomy, they would have known because they had this conversation in Exodus prior to the conversation that took place in Deuteronomy. He says, this month shall be the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you. Speak to all the congregation of Israel, saying, on the 10th of this month, every man shall take for himself a lamb, according to the house of his father, a lamb for a household. And if the household is too small for the lamb, let him and his neighbor next to his house take it according to the number of persons. According to each man's need, you shall make your count for the lamb. Your lamb shall be without blemish, a male of the first year, and you shall make it from the sheep, or you shall take it from the sheep or from the goats. Now you shall keep it until the 14th day of the same month. So he's saying, hey, on the 10th of this month, you're going to take a lamb and you're going to make sure you have enough. Now, if your neighbor doesn't have enough, go ahead and make sure your neighbor is taken care of. But this is what you're going to do. You're going to take a lamb and you're going to sacrifice it. And he's given specific instructions on how to keep Passover. So this is really cool. He even says, keep it for this long, for this many days. And then you make the sacrifice and then we continue on with the celebrations. So quick quiz to see if you were paying attention. What day of the first month was Israel supposed to select a lamb? Do you know? What day of the first month, on what day of Aviv were they supposed to select a lamb? If you're reading these scriptures, you should know the answer. I'll give you 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. If you said 10th day, you are correct. On the 10th day, Israel's supposed to select the lamb. That's what you're supposed to do on that 10th day. That's cool. All right, let's continue back in Exodus chapter 12. Let's read verses 6 through 11. It says, then the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it at twilight, that evening time. And they shall take some of the blood and put it on the 2 doorposts. This is a really important part of Passover. And on the lintel of the houses where they eat it. And this is very specific for what Israel had to do in order to make it out of Egypt. They shall eat the flesh on that night, roasted in fire. So you're supposed to roast this lamb. With it, unleavened bread, and with bitterness or bitter herbs, depending on how you want to take that. But the point is the bitterness. You're supposed to remember the bitterness, whichever way you go with it. Do not eat it raw or boiled at all with water. Remember, you're supposed to roast this lamb, but roasted in fire, its head with its legs and its entrails. You shall let none of it remain until the morning. And what remains of it until morning, you shall burn it with fire. And thus you shall eat it with a belt on your waist, sandals on your feet, and your staff in your hand. So you shall eat it in haste. It is the Passover of Yah. So he said, hey, you're supposed to roast it. You're supposed to eat it with bitterness, the unleavened bread, also with unleavened bread. You're not supposed to leave any till morning. And then he also says you're supposed to eat it ready to go. I mean, staff in hand, belt on, shoes on, ready to go. Why? Because if you remember the story, the father, right after they did that, towards the middle of the night, or I'm not sure if it's the middle of the night, but shortly after, the father came through, and then he wiped out all the firstborn, and he could tell by whoever didn't have blood's lamb on their doorposts. And then from there, as soon as as soon as Egypt, Mitzrayim was at its weakest, that was the moment he said, get up and let's go, get out. So let's see if you're paying attention. One more quick quiz, just because I don't know if you're sleeping. I don't know how much you're really watching of this. So I just want to double check. What were you supposed to do with leftovers? If you look like this guy right here, normally that's me every other day. After you eat and you're like, I'm too full, I'm fat, too much lamb. If you have too much lamb on Passover, what are you supposed to do with it? Do you know? What's the answer? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Answer is burn the leftover lamb in the fire. Yes, you see my cousin Carl over there? He said, write that down. Any lamb you have left over, do not leave it till morning. You don't eat leftovers, not with this meal. He said, burn it all down. Put it away. So, good job. If you said burn it with fire, you got it right. All right, let's read Exodus chapter 12, verse 11 through 15. For I will pass through the land of Egypt on that night, and I will strike all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast. And against all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgment. I am Yah. Now the blood shall be a sign for you on the houses where you are. And when I see the blood, I will pass over you, and the plague shall not be on you to destroy you when I strike the land of Egypt. So stop right there. He's giving them this instructions because he's coming in with a bomb. He said, I'm coming to strike all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, man, beast, and I'm coming for those false Elohim. I'm coming for those lesser Elohim. I'm coming for the gods of Egypt too. They about to get their butt whooped too. So he said, you want to make sure you're safe? Put that lamb's blood on the doorpost. I'm doing this to protect you because I'm about to level the place. Right? Let's keep going. It says, I'll pass over you, and the plague shall not be on you to destroy you when I strike the land of Egypt. Because like I just said, he's striking the whole land. So this day shall be to you a memorial, and you shall keep it as a feast to Yah throughout your generations. Right? You shall keep it as a feast to Yah by an everlasting ordinance. Or other Bibles may say perpetually. He said you're supposed to do this forever. You're supposed to celebrate this feast forever. Anything else that you're celebrating, if it's not written and it wasn't ordained by the Father and created by the Father, kick that to the curb. He said, this right here, I'm telling you directly, I want you to do this forever. So those are the things I think we should pay the most attention to. 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread. On the first day you shall remove leaven from your houses. For whoever eats leavened bread from the first day until the 7th day, that person should be cut off from Israel. So he's saying 7 days you're supposed to eat unleavened bread. And we'll talk more about what leaven means. But this is important. He's giving Israel some very specific instructions. He said, I'm about to get you out of this place. So make sure you follow and you listen closely. So let's finish off these last two verses. This isn't the end of the chapter. These are just verses that we selected to kind of take a look and dive and use our case study today. It says, on the first day there shall be a holy convocation, and on the seventh day there shall be a holy convocation, a sacred assembly. No manner of work shall be done on them, but that which everyone must eat, that only may be prepared by you. So on these days, the first day and the last day, it is a high Sabbath, as the Bible might, as a lot of people might have called it. We have the regular Sabbath, the Shabbat, which is every 7 days. The Father has told us to rest, and that has been instituted since Genesis. But he's saying, hey, on these special days, on these holy days, right? The world has holidays. We got these holy days. He said, on these holy days, you need to make sure that you're also not working. This is a complete Sabbath. It's a sacred, Kodesh, set apart day. Don't work. Don't earn any money. Just focus on me. Just stay focused. This day is that important. So, last quiz. I know I told you the last one was the last one, but I just had to keep you on your toes. So, answer for me. How many years did Yah tell Israel to keep Passover? How many years did Yah tell Israel to keep Passover? Was this just a one-time thing? How many years was Israel supposed to keep the Passover? Let's find out right now. Yah told his children to keep his feast days forever. Every feast day. He said, hey, keep it forever. Do Passover perpetually. It's an everlasting ordinance. It's a direct commandment from me to you. Do not miss it. Celebrate it. Keep it. Honor it. This is important. Even if you look like these guys, you're supposed to be this old, you're supposed to still be doing Passover. So there's your answer. All right, and that wraps us up for this episode today. Next week, we'll take a look at unleavened bread and learn a little bit more about that spring Moedim. Until then, again, if you want to support 144 Kids, if you want a cool 144 Kids t-shirt, all you got to do is go to 144kids.org and you'll find the information there. Until then, I'll see you in the next episode, or I'll see you live on Shabbat and Shabbat morning. Other than that, peace be with you and shalom. I gotta figure out how to do that Daddy B thing. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom.
Hey, you know what time it is? Time to come back from groups. We're coming back from groups. We're coming back from groups. No more nattering, stop that chattering. We're coming back from groups. We're coming back from groups. Finish your questions and your suggestions. We're coming back from groups. We're coming back from groups. Let's be quick. Austin's yawning. I think he's nearly snoring. We are back from groups. Shabbat shalom.